Hi everybody, welcome back to Keto Upgrade. My name's Alicia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And today we are making one of my favorite desserts, tiramisu. This is a dessert that I loved ever since pastry school, so I wanted to upgrade it and this is how I did it. Okay, the first part of this recipe is the Ladyfingers, and it's basically a sponge cake recipe, which is very similar to a lot of keto dessert recipes in general. It's the whipping of the egg yolks, whipping of the egg whites, and folding them in. So the hardest part was to figure out the flours and adding some kind of stabilizer that would make these chewy and not crumbly. So first we're going to start with the egg whites. We're going to beat these to stiff peaks while we slowly add in half of the allulose. So you want stiff peaks. So you don't want this little peak flopping over at all, and that's how you want your egg whites. So we can set those aside for now. And then we're going to be going over to the stove to whip up our egg yolks. Okay, we got 3 egg yolks in here. We're going to add our other half of the sugar, and we're going to beat this until it's very pale and fluffy. I have it on medium heat over a double boiler. You basically want your egg yolks to triple in volume and to get very fluffy and pale. Okay, once that's all set, we are going to add in another thing that helps this be fluffy and rise a lot is apple cider vinegar, and I got baking soda that'll react with the mixture and make it more fluffy. You can skip the heating step. I did do it without that. It just didn't rise as much, and I wanted these to be just as fluffy as the normal Ladyfingers that I had back in college. So we're going to add this to the egg yolk mixture. I also preheated my oven to 375. I found out an interesting thing doing these recipe testing. I figured out that allulose and monk fruit actually cook differently in baked goods. So if you are using monk fruit instead of the allulose, you want it at 400 degrees. But the allulose actually cooks a lot quicker. So that's why I use allulose in this one. Okay, so after you add the vinegar, and I also add a little bit of vanilla extract to this, you want to add in your sifted dry ingredients. And you want to make sure they're all mixed together in here too, so they get mixed in here. And I opted for coconut flour because coconut flour makes more moist desserts, I believe, and xanthan gum, which gives it a bendy, cookie-like texture to this. So this is going to get very, very thick because coconut flour is very, very absorbent. So we're actually going to sacrifice some of these egg whites to mix in here because it's so thick. It gets basically like a paste consistency. I did try with less coconut flour. It didn't hold up right, so I tested this one thoroughly. Believe me, it works. Get all your batter in there. And then you're going to want to take 1/3 of your very stiff egg whites. And you're going to beat those in. Okay, once you got that beaten in, they're a little bit lighter. They're not still very light, they're very thick. So I add in another, just 1/3 of my egg whites and mix that up. And I save the last one to fold in real gently so I get as much air as possible in there. Now, this is a process, and there are other recipes out there that are very easy. Headbangers Kitchen actually has one where you just use a mug cake recipe, and I'm sure it's just as delicious. But I was on the hunt for the exact replica of tiramisu that I had back in the day. And I think I got it here. Okay, that's nice and incorporated. I'm gonna grab the last of my egg whites and fold them in very gently. Okay, so once you have a pretty cohesive mixture, you want to transfer it to a piping bag. Or if you want to go even easier, you can just spread it on a sheet tray flat and cut it into whatever shapes you want for whatever dish you're putting them into. So I have a trick here is I got a piping bag in a cup so that it's easier to pour into. Okay, so once you got your batter in a piping bag, this part is really up to you how you are going to assemble your tiramisu. You can do it into fingers, you can do it into discs. Today I think I'm going to do some individual ones in some wine glasses, make them look a little fancy for like a dinner party or something. But I'll show you both ways to do it. You want to do this pretty thick, like the other sponge cake recipes. You don't need to put a lot of batter in each cookie because they puff up a lot. These don't puff up as much, so you gotta put a little extra filling in there. So you can do some fingers. And the fingers are great for if you are doing a layered tiramisu. This will fit perfectly in an 8-inch round springform pan. 2 layers of fingers, 2 layers of cream. Then you can make some discs too. Like I said, you can just do one long sheet and cut it into whatever shape you want. So these spread a tiny bit, but not much at all, so you can get them pretty close together. I'm popping these in the oven. Like I said, the allulose cooks very fast, so 6 minutes. And I'm going to be turning them halfway through to make sure they get all evenly browned on all sides. Okay, so we lost some video footage there, so I have the first part of our filling made. It's pretty simple. It's the same thing that we did with the Ladyfingers. You whip up the egg yolks with a little bit of the sugar over a medium heat double boiler. And then I added a tablespoon of rum, but you can add any kind of liqueur or liquor you want. Or if you don't want any liquor, you can just add a vanilla extract, a rum extract. And then once that was in, I whipped that in a little bit. And then I put in my mascarpone cheese and whipped that. And you can also substitute cream cheese in that if you don't want to use the mascarpone. So that is our mixture there, very creamy. The egg yolk gives it a really creamy texture. So next we are going to be whipping our whipped cream. So this recipe is, like I said, a little bit more difficult. You can skip the egg yolk completely. You can just whip up some mascarpone or cream cheese, whip up whipped cream, and fold it in with some flavorings. So we're gonna whip this to soft peaks. Okay, that's what you want there. I have a little bit of vanilla extract in there. You can, again, add whatever extract you want. And I used Locanto powdered sugar for this. You can, again, use any sweetener you want. That's what's nice about this filling recipe. It's very customizable to whatever you guys would like. So then you got your mascarpone cheese mixture. You are going to fold in your soft whipped cream. Do this all in one shot. And then since I'm doing individual tiramisus here, I actually have a piping bag ready to go to add this filling into, just to make it easier. But if you make a large batch tiramisu, you can just plop it on top of your ladyfinger layers with a spoon and spread it out. This way you don't have to be as careful with it. It's a lot easier to fold in than egg whites. You don't have to worry about stuff deflating. You just want one cohesive mixture. It looks good to me. And put some in my piping bag. I'm not going to do all of it because I only have enough for 3 individuals here. All the macros for the ingredients I'm using are below. Again, however many servings you make out of it, it's how many carbs and stuff it'll be. So I just have a little bit in there. This I don't even have a tip on because it's easy just to pop in there. Okay, I'm going to get all my stuff ready to do a little assembly line here of tiramisus. Okay, now we're on to assembly. Now, tiramisu in Italian actually means pick-me-up. So this step is where we add some coffee. So I have 2 tablespoons of espresso powder dissolved in a half cup of water. And then I added another tablespoon of rum to this. But of course you can just do a simple syrup, which is just sugar and water and some kind of extracts if you don't want the coffee in there. But tiramisu without coffee, just not tiramisu. So these are very delicate. They're very sponge-like and they will soak this up very quickly. So you just want to give a little dunk in there and place one in the bottom of your glass. You don't want them falling apart. Okay, so that's the first layer down. Then you add in some of your filling. And then you do another layer. And add another layer of cream. And then to get your classic tiramisu look, we need to dust a little bit of cocoa powder on top. So I have some fancy raw cacao powder here. You can use whatever type you'd like. Put a little bit in there. You shake it over the top. And there you have your finished tiramisus for individual servings. You can always add a little bit of shaved chocolate on top or a little bit like one of those little praline straws on the side. Look very nice. Would be good for any little entertainment you have going on. Of course, not right now because we can't really have dinner parties, but in the future. Okay, so that's my tiramisu upgraded. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. I know I did, and doing all the testing for it. And I will see you again soon. Bye.